Hey, how's it going? It's been a long time since I've done any kind of a video. I'm taking a break from my super long book. You can see that in the very bottom. It's about 50 pages in Word. We're about 45,000 words, and I think I'm maybe two-thirds done with it. So probably be a nice long book for y'all to read. I hope to get it printed in a actual format and properly published or self-published. I don't know anything about that, but I'm taking a break from that to kind of make up for some things that I said I was going to do. Let me just say that I haven't been doing videos, right? Like, you know that. I was doing videos like every day at one point last year. Then I moved out of the state of California and I just fell off. Like, I was doing a few, but I was working, I was exploring the lands, and I just didn't feel the need to keep pumping content. To be honest, I think my preferred medium at this point is um, it's actually writing. I think I prefer writing than I do making videos. And especially with my memoir, the creative juices have been flowing nonstop. I have been more addicted to this writing than just about anything in a long time, and I just keep going, I keep going, I keep going. It'll be very interesting to see what happens after I write a memoir, because after that I don't have my own memory to go back on. So what kind of books would I even write? Fiction, predictions, things like that. I don't know. But at one point in my channel last year, I said I was going to do book reviews. I did. I did do a number of book reviews in my channel. You can go down in the list and see them. I also said I was going to review particular books. I even created separate YouTube channels because I thought I was going to keep going. I had a finance channel where I was doing a daily kind of morning podcast about gold prices, crypto prices, and stock prices. I don't do that anymore. I've stopped that. So if you're still subscribed to that, I appreciate it, but you can unsubscribe. I'm not doing it anymore. And I had even created a Romans Reads channel that I was going to do exclusively book reviews on. It's not happening. Not doing it. So to at least make up and come through on some promises I made a long time ago, maybe 5-6 months ago now, I want to do some book reviews, and I'm going to do it all in one video. So bear with me. I'm not gonna do timestamps. I don't think. We'll see, maybe. But I've been reading a lot of books lately, and instead of making separate videos for them, I'm just gonna do them all here, and more or less in the order that I've been reading them. Um, there's a couple books on this tab up here that I haven't finished, so I'm not gonna say anything negative or critical about the ones that I haven't finished, to be completely fair to those authors. The last book I just read, and I did post about this on Social Galactic, I just finished this last night, was Hard Times Create Strong Men. It's by a guy named Stefan Arnio. He is dead. He died last year from cancer, which is sad because he even wrote a book about how he beat cancer through fasting. This guy is one of the champion fasters. He has done a 40-day fast. He has done an 18-day fast. And what he does, or what he did at least, he wouldn't just fast from food. He would go into the jungle or into the wilderness with a tent and nothing, and maybe a book and a pad of paper. He just drank water, but he didn't bring his phone. He wasn't doing this in front of his computer. So he wasn't just fasting from food. He was fasting from everything: dopamine, serotonin, all those things. So I definitely respect this guy. He grew up poor. He made his millions selling real estate and creating real estate companies. He hired employees, and he would just crank out books really fast in the middle of his fasts. And I haven't even talked about his book, but I got to tell you, I also do a daily fast. Just about every day, I do one meal a day. So in the morning, I take my caffeine injection, and that's it. I don't eat anything until 5 o'clock, and I usually only eat from about 5 to 6 p.m. And I usually eat a lot of food, like a lot of food, maybe 2,500 calories in one sitting. But I can speak from my own experience that when you're fasting, you have way more ability to create things. You have way better time focusing on things, and that's how I've written 50,000 words almost in the last week. So let's talk about his book. I liked it. I agreed with maybe 80% of it. I think he was definitely on to some things. He still is kind of more of one of those Judeo-Christian guys where I'm really more like, yeah, maybe just Christian guys. You know what I'm saying? And also talked about how other cultures can really assimilate into the United States, which I also disagreed with a little bit. But overall, I think the book is really good. I will say my favorite part was that he really painted the parallels between the rise and fall of Rome, the rise and fall of Persia, the rise and fall of Greece, the rise and fall of Germany, all that stuff, and compared it to the rise and fall of the United States, which we are in the middle of. Also, I gotta say, the best thing, he did predict that in 2020 there would be a disaster, and he predicted that in 2018. In 2018, we didn't hear a single thing about something called the COOF. Not a single thing. So he predicted it. He did say it was going to be probably a currency crisis or a military crisis, is what he said, I think. A financial crisis or something to that nature. But he absolutely talks about the 80-year cycle of hard times create strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. And he was on the dot with his prediction on the year. I don't remember if he was alive in 2020 or not to actually see his prediction come true, but I have to give major props to this guy. Overall, this book is a really good primer for someone who is maybe an acquaintance or a friend of yours, but who's not quite there, if you know what I mean. And, oh dear, we got a vacuum going. Like someone who's like, yeah, a friend of yours from high school that voted for Biden but is starting to see some bullshit, you should send them this book. Also, for people who are on our side but don't have a lot of the knowledge and facts, you should send them this book. I myself will certainly be recommending this to other people. I'm probably going to pause the video here because I hear a vacuum in the background. Hang on. Okay, vacuum's off. I have my 1-month-old son down below sitting in a chair. He may not sleep. We shall see. Here's another book I was recently reading. I'm a big fan of the Kurgan. I think he's a great author. I think he speaks the truth, probably. I'm still mostly convinced that there's some really shady stuff with the Freemasons in Europe. My problem with the whole argument about the Freemasons, and I don't want to get into a debate. I'm happy to be wrong about this, but I like Andrew Jackson. I just do. When I heard that he was one of the best presidents in the United States, I looked into him, and the man completely prevented the Federal Reserve from being made in the 1820s. It took them another 100 years to get that through into the United States and to put us into a central banking system, which is the root of all evil. So I guess my take is there's probably some decent Freemasons out there. And yeah, there's some shitty ones who decided to enter the Catholic Church. And I mean, look at this guy Bergoglio. They call him Pope Francis. He cannot possibly be a pope. He has to be some kind of communist infiltrator. The guy is just ridiculous. There's no way he's a Christian. Well, no way he's a real Catholic. This is a book that I have not finished. I'll be honest. I got a little bit bored with the Italian history. And I just got a little numbed out with all the names of different Italians who did things. It's a really good book, though, if you're trying to figure out what's going on. This is the guy, he's the expert on this. And he is, in my opinion, one of the best people who is turning people into real Catholics and away from the church entity of, modern-day Catholics today who are really just some kind of, Hindus, in my opinion. These people think that Jesus is actually Gandhi. They, confuse the two. All about peace and love and BS. Shut up. It's actually a really funny book, and I haven't finished it. So I would say get it, but I would also say if you haven't read his first book, you should start here. This is, I think I've actually reviewed this in my channel already, but it's a really good book. It's cheap. It's a fast read. It is funny. Start with this. Then if you want to get into the nitty-gritty, go here. All right. I read this recently. It was actually sold to me for a huge profit from another guy on Social Galactic. You know who you are if you're watching the video. I really do appreciate that. This was the very first book in the Castalia Library series, and it sold out super fast. And I didn't have it. I had Meditations and I had Awaken the Nightland, and I wanted to complete the collection. And so I bought this for $400 in a leather, Castalia edition, and it was totally worth it. It's a really funny book. It's a good introduction to Owen Stanley. I have another book from him that I have not read yet called The Promethean, but I've been told it's just as good as this. This book will make you laugh out loud, and probably some good rhetoric in here because it definitely, points to the kind of people we have running the show these days. I highly recommend this book, particularly if you want to laugh. It's basically about a, group of UN do-gooders who think that they can turn an incredibly savage tribe of people into, democracy, liberal, advanced people. It doesn't work out. Read the book. It's pretty funny. Meditations has been around for 2,000 years. I don't know, 1,800 years or 1,500 years, or whenever we found what we think was Marcus Aurelius's book. I also have this on Castalia Library. It's also now sold out, so you can't get the beautiful purple edition. But that's what I was reading, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't finished it. I think it's a little hard to get through, particularly someone like me who's starting to become more into novels and narratives and stories that kind of grab you. Marcus Aurelius Meditations is just a manual type book on lesson after lesson after lesson. They don't necessarily connect, but you should read it. And then you might even want to go to like a Cliff Notes kind of website that has a better, more modern summary of what he's actually trying to say. That's what I've done. So like when I finished book 1, I think there's 12 or 13 books within Meditations. When I finished book 1, I read the bullet point notes. When I finished book 2, I read the bullet point notes because I wanted to make sure I really understood what he was saying. Let me go give this little boy a pacifier. Hey, there you go. Well, you pooped, bro. I'll change you in a minute. All right. It is a must-read for anyone who wants to be introduced to Roman Stoicism. Some of the other Stoic, famous Stoics. Yeah, the famous Stoics. Epictetus, Seneca. You might want to also read some books by them. They're also from Roman times. Looks like I already had that. This was the other book that I have in the Castalia Library, and it is fantastic. I loved it. It's actually, it's by a guy, John C. Wright, who converted to Christianity from atheism. You can read about his testimony if you look it up and search for it, but essentially, he didn't create this universe of the Nightland. The Nightland is this guy, William Hope's 1912 novel. I haven't actually read it yet. I need to put it on my list. He essentially, what John C. Wright did is he took that universe and expanded upon it with 4 medium-sized stories. They are really good, one after the other. Like I remember the first one, and I was like, "Oh, the second one is not going to be as good," and it really was. And then the third one was like fantastic, and then the fourth one was just mind-blowing. I loved it. I really did. Highly recommended. I do have the Castalia version. It's black with silver-lined pages. It's amazingly gorgeous. I don't know if it's sold out yet on Castalia. I think there might still be some copies. This one is one that I actually said I was going to review, and it is unfortunately a book that I got about 3/4 of the way through and decided to kind of switch to something else. It is a series of short stories, and it is military fiction. So some of it goes some of it's not fiction actually. Some of it's military history, but it's all military short stories. Some of it is historical, like written about things that actually happened. Most of it is military science fiction in the future. Hang on one second. Let me just pick this guy up. I think he needs to be held. Okay, buddy. I haven't finished this book. It is really good. This guy, he definitely knows what he's talking about. I mean, there's multiple authors for sure, but Jerry Pournelle put the book together this way for a reason. I think he's no longer with us. I think Pournelle has passed, but it is a good book if you like science fiction, military fiction, military history. It does mention right here Ender's Game. That was a particularly good one. There are some other good ones in here. But yeah, it's from Castalia House, and it is really good. I just haven't finished it. And then lastly, I read this last year. It's going to kind of go into a totally different thing, but the carnivore diet. So it's interesting because I myself have messed around with diets. I have messed around with fasting. And the carnivore diet, when you get past your initial keto low carb phase that happens after a couple days of not eating carbs, it really is amazing in terms of energy. I could never eat more than 2 to 3 pounds of beef a day, and I lost strength. I lost weight. I lost fat, but I also lost strength. And this guy, what happened? Hold on, we gotta find Sean Baker. Hang on. This guy is legit jacked, but the dude eats 6 pounds of ribeye per day. I don't know how he affords that. Ribeye is the most expensive cut. On average, a pound of ribeye is something like $15. So I don't know how he does it. He eats 6 pounds of ribeye a day, but he is incredibly jacked. And that's all he eats. He doesn't eat anything else except eggs. He is a pure carnivore. So there's got to be something to that diet. I know some people think you'll die if you don't have carbohydrates. And I mean, at 6 pounds, you're definitely converting some of that extra protein into glucose, and glucose is a carbohydrate for your body. So in a sense, I think he is getting his own carbs from meat at the level of meat he's eating, which is why he might be able to look this good and squat 600 pounds and deadlift 500 pounds and all that stuff. This is a different guy who's also, this is Paul Saladino. He is also a carnivore diet guy, also a 6 pound a day kind of guy. So I guess it is possible. It's just, you got to eat a lot of meat. But the book was good, right? I'm reviewing the book. It was good, and I liked it. It was entertaining. It was funny. I would recommend it. It's definitely an idea. If you're looking to lose weight, you can definitely lose weight on a carnivore diet. Just something to think about. Anyway, that's kind of like my dump, right? I wanted to dump out a bunch of reviews at once. I still need to finish Reclaiming the Catholic Church. It is huge. It is a really big book. Believe is a small, quick read. Reclaiming the Catholic Church is huge. It's like an inch and a half thick. It is funny. There's just a lot in there, and I haven't gotten through it yet. And I think that'll do it, folks. Have a good one.